Hello everyone and welcome to Slipjoint Sawyer. Today we're actually going to be taking a look at a French knife. Now that's not something I buy a whole lot of, different bits and reasons why that, but I saw this one come up on Heine and it's actually of a very old manufacturer, one that's been around for absolute donkey's years. I mean, I couldn't even tell you how long they've been around for, but it's one you will all know. It's an Opinel, and this is because they have released a new locking mechanism. Not a lock, it's more like a slip joint mechanism which they've designed, and they're calling it the Opiflex. And I was intrigued to see what it was about. And now you can pick this black walnut up on Heine Haynes for about £24. They've got olive wood for about 26, and then for some reason the ebony is like 50 quid, and I couldn't justify the price of that when you can get the same knife in this beautiful walnut for nearly half the price. But yeah, this is the packaging. Zoom out a little bit so you can see a bit better. That there out of the way. Recycled sort of cardboard box with this little sleeve on it. You can see you've got Opinel at the top, and this is the Néo6 I probably said that all wrong. It is Inox, so it is stainless steel. Unfortunately, they didn't offer a carbon steel, which is what I would have preferred. But there's little bits about it. So this is exactly what you'll get in the box. The lanyard comes with it. It's non-locking, easy to fold and unfold, made in France, of course. Some details on the back there, the address. And on the back, you've got some blurb. Where is the English? Here we go. The compact, agile knife that's easy to use every day for opening a parcel, cutting a rope, etc., etc. And it's been designed for a 7cm rounded stainless steel blade for use in urban environments, is what it says online. And then you've got all the sort of bits and pieces down here. Now there's one thing which I'm going to be modifying of this towards the end of the video, and it is actually going to be this rounded tip. I have no need for a rounded tip. I like to have a point on my blade, so that's what we're going to be doing at the end, so stick around if you want to see how I do that. But let's have a look at this thing. Done enough talking. Inside the box, here's the knife. This is what it looks like. We've seen the outside. Bit of a pain to get out, if I'm honest, with this little squeeze in with that cardboard, and just pull the tip out of there, and then the lanyard's attached, and we can just sort of dispose of that. But here it is, the Opiflex 06, see, made in France, and here is that new mechanism they've got here. So you've got this sort of thicker bit on the collar, which you can see they've elongated the tang of the knife at the back there. Really nice crosshatch design, but look at this black walnut. Isn't that absolutely superb? Look at the grain on that. You got that beautiful streak going down the back of the knife. Nice small lanyard tube on there with a little bit of leather in there. Now I'm undecided whether to leave that on there or not. I probably will. It seems to fit the aesthetic of the knife. And it does, when I say the aesthetic, it looks exactly like a standard Opinel, which would be a friction folder for the UK legal ones, or you'd have that Vibra lock, which is, you know, the twist lock. So close length, let's take a little look at what we have. So it is, well, we've got 3.6 inches closed, so nice sort of pocketable size, sort of disappears in the hand. I've got like medium large hands, somewhere around sort of Barlow size really. And the blade is stainless steel, as I mentioned at the start. I would have preferred carbon, but that's just what it is. And you can see that tension there to pull it out. And then you have between this sort of position, it's like the original friction folder one. And then listen to the snap. Jesus. The snap from this little spring on the back here. And you can see the snap on that. Really affirmative into that open position. And if you might be able to see the difference on the tang, you have that sort of cornered off bit up here, the flattened portion. It's quite hard to see in there. And you'll be able to see the spring move if I can get it without cutting myself. See it going up there, and then snaps open into that position nicely. Pinned construction then, it literally is a very simple knife, a pin through it, pinned either side with a collar, and then the channel milled out for the blade. And you'll see that rounded tip on there, which will be gone by the end of the video, because I understand why it's a safety thing, but for me it doesn't make sense. Got Opinel stamped into the blade there, which is nice to see. It's not an etch. Their logo and Inox for their stainless steel. Beautiful flat grind, nice little edge all the way round on the back as well. And the lockup on it, I say lockup, I mean like the strength of the spring is actually pretty good. I'd say it's similar to a victorinox sort of strength. And that blade length then is really good for the size of the knife. You're over 2 3/4 inches, so that blade cutting edge being the whole length of that. Bit easier to see if I do it this way, you can see that there. But beautiful sort of drop point blade. Very light as well in the hand. This would be something you put in a camp bag and you would not even feel it's there. And with this sort of premium wood to it as well, I think it looks infinitely better than the standard Opinel. I am a fan of it, but it's not one that I would ever sort of carry or pick up to use or even chuck in a sort of a go bag. But this, with its stainless steel, so I'm not going to have to worry about it. I think it's going to be perfect for that. And then there is a little bit of a snap on the close there. Nothing major. You can just sort of hear the tension of the little Opiflex holding that blade in, which one of the things I wasn't a massive fan of the friction folder ones. I was always concerned the blade was going to come out, but there's enough of the tension on there to hold it in, and you can actually pinch this open if you want, just about, but it's mainly going to be a nail nick open for most people. But big fan of this. I think they've done a fantastic job of it. Have we got a model number for it? I think it's just the Néo6. Yes, it is. That's pretty much all I can find. 24 quid on Heine Haynes, absolute bargain. What could you really want more than this? For an EDC knife, I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's lightweight. It's made in Europe, made in France, by a company that's been around for, is the date actually on here before I sort of messing things up? Probably is 18 something. Elan will watch this and he'll tell me off. But yeah, if you want a great budget knife, I would honestly recommend this. And I know I'm not a massive friction folder or French knife lover, but this thing's perfect for a budget knife. If you want to recommend a knife for a friend or buy a gift, this thing is fantastic. But that's my sort of overview part of the video done. And what we're going to do now, with the power and the magic of television, like they would say on, you know, any sort of cringy TV show, we'll just be right back when I'm in the workshop. So I'm going to sort of say goodbye for now, and I'll see you within a couple of seconds. And if by magic, look, we're in the shed slash workshop slash garage with absolute mess everywhere because we're still renovating the house. Another disclaimer, if you can hear seagulls roddering each other on the roof, I do apologise, but Stephen Seagull is very active, let's just say it that way. But yeah, here we are, we're out with the Opinel. I've just got I think it's 400 grit belt on my little machine. And we've got two options really. You can either go all the way up and take that tip off, so you're more like an upswept like this, or you can bring all the way down like this, which I think is what I'm going to do. Prefer that sort of blade over the sort of the rounded bit of a sod buster. So all I'm going to do is hold the spine of the knife against like this, slowly working it down without causing too much of a curve on the back here. And I do have a little pot of water by the side just to keep the blade cool. This is the first time I'm going to be doing it on this knife. I've not done it on Opinel before, so we will see how it goes. And if I mess it up, I mess it up and I'll just buy another one. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. Sort of look at the progress as we go. If you noticed, I went quite far up the tang because I'm trying to stop that sort of arch happening. If you just do all here, you're going to get an obvious sort of downward angle on top of the blade. But as you can see, we're slowly getting towards it. I don't want to go too much and too often, because if you heat up the blade, you'll ruin the heat treat that's in this stainless steel. But it will do something on different steel, so you want to keep it cool while you're doing it. And I would advise using a lower grade grit belt like this, or higher grit, whichever you want to say. I mean, I wouldn't go using a 120 because you'll just eat through the steel in 2 seconds and ruin it. So that's why I went for about a 400, but we're going to get back to it. I think that is right about where we want to be. You can see I've got a nice point on the end now. I've brought that blade down. All that really needs is to be sharpened, and then we are good to go with a nice tip on that. So I hope you enjoyed my review and sort of modification on this new Opinel Néo6 with the Opiflex. If you enjoyed this, please be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.